So a couple months ago, I started to really intensively reading self-help books to improve my self-knowledge, social skills, and communication skills. And still, after reading so many self-help books, I felt like I'm not really improving. So what's the problem? In this video, I'll break down how come I combine self-help books and fiction books in order to deepening my understanding in self-knowledge, communication skills, and relationship skills. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Cindy, a medical student in Germany. So before I find how important fiction books for self-knowledge are, I was heavily and intensively reading the self-help books, collecting data and theories, tips and facts about how to improve myself and communication skills, also relationship skills, and it didn't really work for me. So a month ago, I stopped completely reading the self-help books and moved to another genre, the fiction books. I started with The Hobbit by Tolkien. I already watched the movie. I love the movie so much, but I never really read the book, so I'm still reading it. And it just made me realize about so many things why I didn't understand after reading so many self-help books. So the first problem that I now understand is that self-help books can really be a very addictive activity, reading self-help books. I call it the addiction of theory. One of the most difficult things to notice in reading such things. So what is addiction? Addiction is the repeated involvement with a substance or activity despite the substantial harm it now causes, because that involvement was and may continue to be pleasurable and or valuable. So this definition is from mentalhealth.net. So what kind of activity in this situation? In this situation is reading self-help books and learning a bunch of theories, facts, and tips about how to improve yourself. And what makes it pleasurable is that it tricks our mind as if that we were already done something, but actually we're not. And this is very dangerous because reading it doesn't mean that you understand it or really can practice it in real life. So the harms that we have in the situation is the first thing that you probably will read more self-help books after you read one self-help books. It boosts that motivation inside us, it boosts that hope and a good feeling, and then you buy more books and you use more time to read them. And then the second one is probably you withdraw from your actual responsibility to read more, and you feel like these books promise you something, so you just read it, because if you don't read it till the end, you will not get a promise, because this is a self-help book, a productivity book. And the third one is you don't really learn how to empathize with other human beings, feelings of other situations of other people's while reading self-help book. This is actually really important, because sometimes to understand yourself you need to understand others, and to understand others you need to understand yourself too. So it's like you need both. You cannot just do one. So couple things that I learned after reading fiction book like The Hobbit is that I learned a lot about, the feeling to empathize with other people. Like you gotta understand their feeling, and this is something that I didn't find a lot in self-help books, because self-help books is for yourself. It's probably pretty individualistic, and you are trying to improve yourself. So sometimes it's kind of hard to understand in one-sided way. So in fantasy books, you learn about communication and relationships in dialogues and situational and condition. And then there's also philosophy about why life works like that and why nature sometimes works like that, and how human being reacts to a certain situation. And that is probably what I need at that time to improve myself, because it really opened my eyes that I need to accept that sometimes what I think pretty much situation where I cannot understand why someone might do that is probably there's a reason behind it, and it's not because humans are bad, but it just we all wrap up in our own reality, our own worlds, and it's sometimes not easy to communicate and to really explain, because in order to understand, both parties need to really understand the situation and probably need to experience the feeling a deep more, like in Fantasy's book. What I also realized is in the productivity or self-help books club is that there is this pressure to read more and read faster, while I think reading more and reading faster doesn't really encouraging the understanding. After so many years, I differentiate between knowing and understanding. These are not the same. Knowing, you heard about it, you can find it logic, but understanding is deeper than knowing. Like understanding, it's like you're accepting, like, okay, this is how it is, and yeah, and you just like not seeing it. You put your feeling inside. Like this is like understanding, like your logic and your feelings are dancing together. So this is how I describe understanding. I found it really sad that I probably read faster or read more books because I wanted to look better, or if I met someone and I explained that I read some books. Last week I read 4 books, and I don't know, I feel like people kind of wowing me, like, wow, this is cool. But actually it's not that cool, because I actually only skimmed the book. I don't really understand it. I mean, I read them, I know something about them, I kind of remembering the difficult definition, but I don't really understand it. So it's a shame. Please remember, and please don't understand me wrong. I don't think that self-help books are bad. Self-help books are really, really good. In my opinion, all books that ever existed probably are self-help books. It's just that self-help books today are specified to more heavy facts and also a little bit one-sided. I pretty much appreciate if self-help books contained more stories inside, like history or real life stories or fantasies also, like the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. There's some stories inside, and it really helps to remember and understand what exactly was being said, instead of a bunch of cool name or cool definitions. I think you should combine the two, and this is now how I manage to read self-help books and fictions book at the same time. So the first one is I use self-help books mostly like dictionary. If I have problem, I skim the books that I need and try to understand the theory behind it and the scientifically knowledge behind it, and then I try to really remember, okay, there's this theory and then there's the studies and stuffs. And the second one, I read self-help books now slower than I used to, and I'm not contributing anymore in this competition between who read faster, who read more books, because my goal is not to read more books or know more or whatsoever. My goal is to understand what I read. I want to understand it and I want to write it later with my own word after experience it. And if there's any tips, the third one, if there's any tips, then I will do the tips immediately, and then I will write what happened after I practice this tip on my journal. And the fourth one, I read the fantasy book mostly before I'm going to bed or whenever I feel like, okay, now I just need to chill instead of seeing or watching Netflix. If you like this video, you probably also like my video playlist about Notion and RemNote. Thank you for watching. See you later. Bye.